Network, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spinauer and Theo Ash, and welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars Pizza, where stay hot, they're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. Get on over to your nearest Little Caesars, get yourself a slice or an entire pie, whatever floats your boat. Water floats mine. But before we get into today's episode, we're talking about some NFL stuff. We've been doing these kind of State of the Union style videos or episodes surrounding, each of us takes on a team. We discuss kind of their strengths, weaknesses, where they are in the current scope of the season. Before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I was up at a lighthouse way up north on Lake Superior a couple days ago.
That's cool.
And Matt, I saw someone who looked like you. They were dressed as a lighthouse keeper, and they were just kind of looking sad in their lighthouse uniform.
Oh.
And I was like,
And you said that's
giving
the
Matt.
Spawn Hour I know.
Wait, I'm confused. Were they dressed as a lighthouse keeper,
I would like
or
that,
were
though.
they a lighthouse keeper?
Oh
They
yeah,
were
that's
they were dressed as a lighthouse keeper.
but they weren't
not
actually one.
No. The lighthouse is no longer in operation.
Okay.
Are there any operating lighthouses in the world?
Oh yeah.
What?
I don't know. Is that even like a thing anymore?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still boats and stuff.
Fog still happens. Like,
It's not as important as it used to be because GPS exists, but I
Right.
do believe that they turn on and light up and stuff. I'm not totally sure though. I guess
Let me.
There's probably ones that are still going, but I don't know. I'm sure
I was
there is.
born too late, man.
I was
I
born
would be
too late to be a lighthouse keeper. That's the dream.
I'd be a killer.
There are
lighthouse.
still hundreds of lighthouses in the U.S. that remain operational, with a few modern additions to improve their efficiency.
Okay. I got a chance.
Yeah.
To be a lighthouse keeper.
Zillow, fire it up. Typing in lighthouse keeper.
I love looking at Zillow. I really do.
He's trying to find another job to get off of this podcast.
No, Zillow's the house
That's
one.
yeah. What is it?
Oh, what am I? I'm
Monster?
thinking of Indeed.
Indeed, yeah. That's
You should really look in both places if you want to get to a lighthouse. I would be interested in owning one. I would be interested in working at one. Just get me in a lighthouse somehow.
I'd like to own it so I could more freelance it type deal instead of
dealing with
having the schedule
management.
in mind.
I think having like Airbnb a lighthouse would go kind of crazy.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
You definitely could do it. I love lighthouses, man. I feel such a spiritual connection to the lighthouse. I feel like it's such a stately thing. I've got a lighthouse tattoo. My favorite movie is The Lighthouse, or at least one of my favorites. I'm a big lighthouse guy.
I didn't know
So I
that
was
about
excited.
you, Theo.
I had to go see The Lighthouse.
No doubt, man. Lighthouses
Yeah.
are pretty dope.
They are cool. They are cool. Matt, what have you been up to?
Not much.
He's been in the
Got up early,
the
worked out this
metaphorical
morning.
lighthouse.
Well, I actually followed this guy up on his vacation and then dressed up like a lighthouse keeper and
Oh,
just
it
kinda
was
walked
you.
around. Yeah.
Okay.
Just walked around near him. But outside of that, watching a little football,
Hey,
watching a little
Good.
basketball preseason.
Watching winners
Good
anything,
go off.
anything worth noting?
Nothing too crazy. I'm excited for JT Thor for the Hornets. I think he has a shot to actually turn into a real rotation player.
Hey, excited about the Hornets.
But what teams are we talking about today? We got three teams that
Yes.
perhaps we do not give a lot of attention to or haven't given a lot of attention to yet on Sundays. Last week we talked about the Lions, we talked about the Titans, and we talked about the Texans. This week I picked the Buccaneers. What did you guys pick?
I picked the Saints.
And to round out the NFC South, I picked the Falcons because I figure none of us want to talk about the Panthers.
No, we've already
We've
talked
talked
about the
about the
Panthers
Panthers.
enough. Yeah. So this episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by the wonderful Underdog fantasy app. On Underdog, they have got tons of different game modes. head-to-head matchups, who's going to score more points. We got pick'ems, we got fantasy drafts, we got everything on Underdog Fantasy for every sport you can possibly imagine. Use code STAYHOT. That is all one word, stay hot. And they will double your first deposit up to $100. Of course, that means if you just want to put in $5, they'll give you an extra $5. That's 10, but they would double it a whole lot more if you put in a bigger number. So if you put in 90, all of a sudden you'd have 180 in your account. But Underdog doesn't have unlimited money, so they can't double a $1 billion purchase if we have any billionaires listening to the episode. So they won't double it more than $100. But anything below that, they will. And like I said, tons of game modes, tons of sports. Check it on out. Download the Underdog Fantasy app and use code STAYHOT today. I'll start. I want to start. I love it.
Okay.
Well, Theo,
I'm raring to go.
You're talking about the Bucs, so you already know I have to ask. How is really truly? How is Baker doing?
Baker's doing all right. He's actually 5th in the EPA completion percentage over expected composite rankings, which I don't really think are the greatest rankings in terms of contextualizing the difficulty of what the quarterbacks are being asked to do. But it does give you a look at how the passing offense is doing, and you need decent quarterback play to be good in that metric. And Baker is 5th, so he's doing a decent job. I think when it comes to the Buccaneers, it comes down to what Canales, the offensive coordinator, is doing. And when Canales was kind of an unknown name, he wasn't some Shanahan disciple that everybody wanted to hire. He came from Seattle, and he possesses a quality that I really, really like in any coaching candidate. And whenever you watch a clinic, you hear coaches talk about how important this is, and a lot of them talk about how grateful they are to have done something like this. And that is fill a lot of roles, wear a lot of hats in an organization. And with Canales, he's been, I think, on strength and conditioning. He's been a wide receivers coach in Seattle. He was a quarterback coach when they made the transition to Geno Smith. And he's done a whole multitude of things for that organization over the course of a decade. And that's been a very successful organization. So kind of an unknown hire, but someone who I had an eye on as someone who could be very competent, someone who had a very strong track record of success, whether that be turning Doug Baldwin, a late round pick, into a superstar in Seattle, or maybe just a star. I don't want to get into the NBA type debate. Was Doug Baldwin a superstar? But a very good player. And so he has that to hang his hat on, obviously, as the quarterback's coach. They were doing things right with Geno Smith. So I was very interested to see what the offense would look like in Tampa. And it's kind of a greatest hits type of offense for Baker Mayfield. They've got a couple different modes. They like to spread out. They like to get an empty and wide in the field as much as they possibly can, with a wide receiver on each sideline and then 3 other eligibles in between. And when you think about Baker and what he was doing at Oklahoma, you've got a guy who played in a spread type of offense, which you don't see as much in the NFL anymore, but the Buccaneers are trying to incorporate that as much as they can. You can't be a spread offense in the NFL all the time. They like to get in close and have room to work on the outsides. But as far as Tampa goes, they like to be an empty, and that's been helpful. It widens all the windows to throw into when you're not constricting the space and just, you're spreading the defense out. You're forcing them to kind of declare what they're going to do. They can't rotate as much because guys have a long way to go. They have a lot to defend. So they've got that going on. And then they have, of course, the under center play action type stuff. All the things you think of when you think of Baker's success in the league under Stefanski. So they kind of alternate between those two worlds a decent amount. And obviously their passing offense has several good numbers to show for it. I think Baker isn't asked to do anything, too crazy. He's had some bad moments for sure. There was a pick against the Saints, go ball up. He was really feeling it. They were going down the field in this kind of spread look. They get inside the 30-yard line. He just kind of throws up a prayer and it gets picked off. Like he's not immune to some bad moments. And like, if the pocket were to really break down, I don't think that he would he would cook. His pocket presence has always been pretty bad, and you can force him into some bad decisions. Like, I don't think that's like completely out of Baker, but we've seen him play some competent football before, and it seems to be coming back in Tampa Bay. And I also think that the receiving core looks good. I think Mike Evans at age 30-something, 30, 31, I don't know exactly. He's playing about as good as I've ever seen him play. He had perhaps catch of the year so far, like a one-handed Odell type thing through contact over the middle of the field. He's running great routes. He's separating from tight man coverage. Like he looks fast. He looks agile. He looks fluid. He looks flexible in the air. Like all the things you want from Mike Evans. He looks like he could put up a solid 1,000-yard season, maybe, and then some again. Although I know that he's been banged up, so we'll see what his status is going forward. He didn't practice. So he might be out next week. But still, I think that there's a lot of good things happening in that Tampa Bay offense right now. And when you look at the rest of their division, I think you have to say that their offense and their defense looks the most competent of anyone there.
I have to ask, because the big concern coming in was the offensive line. How are they seeming to handle at this point in the year? Not great.
I mean, the running game hasn't really gotten going to any degree. They're sixth in EPA per pass. They're 26th in EPA per rush. Rashad White, just doesn't really look like he's some sort of elite NFL back. The first week was a total disaster from him. I think he's been a little bit better since then, but he doesn't really possess the elite athletic skills that you would necessarily want from a workhorse back, and his vision is kind of spotty. Especially week one, there was stuff on the table left and right. So the offensive line, Wirfs has seamlessly transitioned to left tackle. He looks like an all-pro over there. The rest is a little questionable. We saw the interior of Philadelphia's defensive line annihilate in that game a couple weeks ago. Jordan Davis had maybe the best game of his career. Jalen Carter was getting after it, but they seem a little bit better than last year. Like Gadecki was a total liability at guard last season. At right tackle, he's not great by any stretch, but like he has looked, I think, a little better, like a bad starter
this
terms
feels like
of
a
like
low bar, man.
A bad backup. I don't know. They're not a great unit across the board, but Wirfs is an all-pro. You can run behind him. Yeah. You can trust him with the blind side. The rest isn't strong, but I actually think, although the numbers probably don't look it because you're going from Tom Brady getting the ball out as fast as possible with his pocket presence to Baker, like I actually think the line is a little bit improved. And the skill position units, at least the wide receivers, look good. And I think they have good blocking tight ends, which helps as well. Cade Otton and Kokeeft from Minnesota can really make an impact, helping out with their chip blocks or whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. So all positive?
It's pretty positive. There's not too many negatives to say, except your ceiling is probably pretty low when it comes to Baker is your quarterback, your offensive line is your offensive line. Like, are they going to cook against the Eagles of the world? Like, no. But they're better than bad teams. Like, they're well coached on both sides of the ball. Like Canales, like I said, is doing a good job. They're above average. They're 15th in EPA per play from under center. They're 9th in EPA per play from empty. You get in more traditional shotgun looks, and it starts to get much, much dicier. But the things like Baker is good at, he's good at, and they're running at a decent amount. And yeah, I think that's a positive. And then on defense, Bowles is kind of saving his job. I feel like his blitzes are creative. They're sound behind the pass rush. Like, you look at Wink Martindale right now, he'll send a blitz. It's just like 5-man front, everybody take a gap, rush a gap, man coverage behind it. Bowles is blitz heavy, but it's not quite like that. It's let's blitz and rotate behind it, like solid zone coverage. The core of the defense is really strong. Levante David, I think, is still playing at a pretty high level. Antoine Winfield has gone from slot corner to a more traditional safety role, which has been really, really good for him. He's coming off a all-world performance against New Orleans where he made a huge impact. And with these rotations and these blitzes, if you're not on top of it as a quarterback, like you'll throw him one, like you'll get sacked. It's difficult to deal with. And Vita Vea is playing at a really high level as well. He's covering for Logan Hall, number 90, who's not playing at a really high level. But it doesn't even matter because Vita Vea is like
playing well. Logan Hall not playing well.
He's like 3-gapping every play. So overall, it's like a very solid team. I don't think that the ceiling here is super high. All things considered, I worry about their outside corners. I worry about their edge rush, like, and being able to just pin the ears back and rush for, like, is anyone getting home? I don't think they have that kind of, maybe Cansey coming back can make that a lot more dangerous, but as of now, it's not quite there. So those are kind of the things you need to win.
Is Cansey coming back this week?
I'm not totally sure when Cansey is coming back. I know he's not out there now. He should be back. It's kind of tough to say. It's kind of tough to say. He's battling a calf injury. Like, he's been out there. Haven't been a ton of updates on it. So we'll see. The things you need, the ingredients you need to win a Super Bowl aren't there, but to win the NFC South, I think they're more than competent.
There's not too serious of ingredients you need to be competitive in the NFC South.
No. But I would think there's like between the Falcons, Saints, and Bucs, I think all of those teams have some stretch of the ingredients. It's just who's gonna, pull
None of them
together.
have the ceiling.
I think all of those teams play really crappy schedules. And I think that if you put them up against a serious schedule, they would look unserious. That's my opinion on all of them as it stands right now.
I think that's pretty fair. I do think that's pretty fair. Baker, we know, has never, like, again, at points he's looked like competent, but when it came down to being like the separating himself and being like an elite quarterback, it's like he never really was able to do that.
No, that's too much to hope for from Baker at this point. Like, we know to some extent what he is. The question is, can he recapture the kind of game manager competent play that he had in Cleveland? And so far the answer has been like, yes, he can do the things he's comfortable with. Like, don't let him get outside of his comfort zone. He can't operate a full drop back passing game from shotgun and be too effective. But like,
he's not Stafford.
They're one of the better under center teams in the league. And like, that's what you could get from Baker.
Yeah. And if only they had a run game.
Right. Should have traded for JT.
Then they'd have Hey. It was an option.
That would solve their running problems.
They should have traded for Felipe Franks. Put him at running back. Let him be an athlete.
So I have to give up the Matt Corral agenda, but Theo gets to keep his Felipe Franks agenda.
You don't have to give it up. It's just mindset, man.
It's just a mindset. You just have to want it more.
Felipe has shown he can play any position. So
if I want it enough, Matt Corral will be good.
Yes.
This is
never wrong, just early. Just give it some time.
Right, exactly. If you're anything like me, trying to get out to see your favorite team play anytime soon, whether that be the Browns, or maybe you're a Bengals fan, or maybe you're a Cincinnati Bearcats fan, the best place to get tickets to see all your favorite events is Game Time. And notice I said events, not just sports games, because you can see sports games or concerts or comedy shows or any other type of event you can possibly imagine. Head on over to Game Time so you don't have to worry about buying tickets for your next big event. They make everything super fast and easy for buying all the tickets that you could possibly want with killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time really takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets. So head on over to the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Go over to gametime.co or download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code BLAIDENK, BLAIDENK, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BLAIDENK for $20 off. You're already getting the best price, then $20 off. Can't get much better than that. So download Game Time today. Get last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
I will be using code BLAIDENK. Packers versus Broncos 2 weeks from now. I'm typing it in.
Does Felipe Frank still play for the Falcons, or where is he now?
No, he's
like,
probably
he's just a free agent.
He's probably podcasting like we are.
Oh man, this is tough because he could probably save the Falcons passing attack, because currently, as it ranks throughout the season, 27th in offensive in total passing EPA, or maybe he could save the rushing attack, which is 18th in rushing EPA. It is the Falcons' offense has been, I think, the most underwhelming part of their team, and I think the problems that they have on offense and the problems that they have on defense are really two sides of the same coin, which is just how it's just dealing with pressure. Like offensively, they get pressure, they can't deal with it. And when I say they, it's generally Ritter. And Matt, you've talked about Ritter, so I don't want to spend too much time just like wailing on him. He played a good game last week.
He played a fantastic game.
He played a really good game. Hey, PFF had him top 5.
Yeah, because he carried
that.
The Falcons to victory. Their running game didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Their skill position players fumbled multiple times. It came down to them needing a game-winning drive, and he gave it to them. He was awesome that game.
Yeah, he was great. But outside of that game, it has not been smooth sailing. And so offensively, the problem has been they haven't been able to deal with pressure. Defensively, they haven't been able to get pressure, which is their defensive line is interesting because their interior guys have actually been playing really well. Grady Jarrett's had a pretty solid year, and then David Onyemata has had a really killer season. I noticed that he was being graded as PFF's. He was top 10 as a pass rusher among interior defensive linemen and as a run stopper among interior defensive linemen. I'm like, all right, how much do I really buy into this? I go watch the Lions game. He's getting a ton of push up front. And I went and watched the Lions game because they have a good offensive line. So I'm like, that's the game I want to see. And he did a really good job. And the interior of that defensive line can really get some push up front, but they have no one on the edge that can rush the passer with any juice. And Ebiketie was supposed to be that guy, and he's just not. He has like 5 pressures all year. Like they just can't rush the passer to save their life. And that's what's costing them on both sides of the ball. But the run defense has been pretty good. Like they can definitely.
It's been the best. It's been the best run. It's the best run defense in the league.
Do I have? Yeah, I do have that down. They had first run defense by EPA.
Negative 0.25 EPA per rush. Yeah. That is the best mark in football, which is really surprising to me. I did not expect that from them.
I thought that would be like probably one of their weakest points.
I thought the rush offense could be number 1 in the league, which is really the opposite
and
of
it's
what's
not.
happened.
It's really bizarre. The run defense has been fantastic, and it's due to those guys up front getting that push, and they're making, like we talked about, like when you're running, obviously the offensive line is trying to create gaps for the running back to run through. It's the same thing on defense. Defensive linemen are trying to open up these lanes. Obviously, if they can make the tackle, sure, but really you're just trying to make the linebacker's job easier, and boy, have they. Almost every single run, I feel like a linebacker is just like a clear shot to the running back. And it's just, they have been fantastic stopping the run. Held Detroit to like 3.7 yards per attempt. Held Houston to like 2.8 yards per attempt, although Houston hasn't been great running the football anyway this year.
Still, 2 yards.
But they've just been fantastic.
That's not much.
Yeah, 2 yards. 2 yards per carry is nothing. So, but yeah, they've been fantastic stopping the run. The run game you would like to be a little bit better, but I think the problems with their offense, if we want to look at like the left side of their offensive line is horrible. I think that's really what it comes down to. It's like their left tackle is giving up like a 20% is giving up like 20% of their pressures. Their left guard's giving up like 20% of their pressures. Their
Bergeron,
center's giving
the
up
rookie,
like 25% of their pressures. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they're starting. I think he was a second round pick.
He was a second round.
They're starting him out there. It's just like they're the left side of their offensive line is killing them, and it's killing them in the run game and it's killing them in the pass game. And I know specifically, like, there's a play against Detroit where Hutchinson just lines up over the guard, and and I immediately think this is an awful mismatch. It's 3rd and 16, so I mean they're just teeing off at this point. Hutchinson gets inside pressure almost immediately, and there's like some resemblance of, oh well, maybe Ritter had a chance to slide left and make a play out of this, but like you're trying to get routes developing at the sticks. Like a check down is really not what you're aiming for here. Ritter really has no time to kind of get to his check down, and just gets clobbered. They just don't really have, like, there are times where Ritter can do better as far as managing a pocket, but he is getting killed sometimes out there when it comes to pressure on the left side.
Yeah, the offensive line has really been disappointing because Bijan has been, I mean, as good as advertised. I think that there's a very real argument. Like, where does Bijan rank among running backs right now?
I haven't even thought about that.
Like, who's better than Bijan?
McCaffrey. I can't even think of, like, name a running back right now. I can't even think of like any names.
Derrick Henry. I mean, there's Derrick. There's
Derrick Henry.
I mean, the guys that were on my top 10 last year: Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Aaron Jones.
Those guys.
Who else was on that list? Pollard, Brees maybe can has an argument to be better than Robinson. I don't know. I think Bijan's like top 3 at this point.
Yeah, with no Chubb, no Saquon.
Until he stops splitting carries with Algier, I don't know if that's going to be a popular opinion.
I think
he's up there though. I don't disagree, but
he's at least top. So you got this running. He came in and he's like at least top 10, like easily top 10, probably easily top 5 at this point. And yet still, what they wanted to hang their hat on is right now pretty average. I think that they are middle of the pack in rushing efficiency after being one of the top units last year.
I mean, you know the whole like ordeal with that, right? Bijan is averaging like 5.5 yards a carry, and Algier's averaging like 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, you drafted him 8th overall. I really respect we're going to not just like run him into the ground idea, but like
yeah, you've got to, I mean, if you're in the thick of the playoff race, maybe it'll ramp up as time goes on. But Bijan has gotten a lot of work, it felt like to me. I guess he hasn't hit. He's at 10, 14 attempts. It probably should be a little bit more than that, huh?
Yeah, it's the same thing with Gibbs, man. Like you drafted this explosive player to add some juice to your offense in some facet. Now the Falcons, maybe they thought like, oh, we still have to get Pitts involved. We got to get London involved. And like they have, big playmakers on their
I don't know. I don't know if the Falcons do think that, man.
They've got big playmakers on their offense, but still, it's like you drafted him specifically to add some explosiveness to your run game. It's disappointing to not see him used that much. And it's not even from a fantasy perspective. Like, it's just like, why?
Yeah, I guess it's just like they like Algier. I mean, Algier was good for them last year, and so that he can be a bruiser between the tackles, take some of the load off Bijan Robinson. But it's certainly not going like the Montgomery and Gibbs thing up in Detroit, where that bruiser between the tackles is actually very good.
He's doing great.
It's not going so well, and when you have the lowest pass rate in the entire league by far, and you're only the 19th ranked rushing team, like you're going to have a bad offense. And that's currently what Atlanta is dealing with. They really needed that rushing attack to be top tier. It's just not happening right now. Maybe Ritter turned a corner with the last game and is just going to be great going forward. That would be awesome. But
they would need that.
But what?
But he hasn't been that good in any of the other games.
Right. The sample size tells us that
he's good now.
In 80% of his performances so far this year, he has looked mediocre at best. So
they could look good quick, though, because the defense has looked good. Like all the numbers say this defense is good. When they get that, they've got Terrell. Bates is playing at a really high level right now. Like when they get in nickel and dime and limit the amount that their very thin linebacker group has to play, like it's all good. They are getting interior pressure. They are like stopping teams. It just is like the offense is it's been incompetent so far, and maybe
they like to get hands on receivers too. I like how much.
They got a New Orleans guy, man.
I love how much they press.
They bring in a guy from New Orleans. They're going to be trailing. They're going to be pressing. Like they play grown man defense. Same thing with the Lions. Last year they had a New Orleans guy, and they're not afraid to get hands on and do that kind of stuff. So it's been working out for them so far. And if the defense can play at that type of level, I think that they certainly have a higher ceiling as a rushing offense than what they're accomplishing right now. And we just saw a good performance from Ritter. Like I could see as the season goes on them figuring something out and being a pretty formidable team. But right now the offense just isn't there.
It's not. Yeah, but it is so funny that we were like, oh, the offense could be really special in Atlanta, but the defense, man, I don't know how the run defense is going to be, and like how are these corners? How good are these corners really? But
they're the like, worst totally gun running team in the entire league. That's so crazy for a team that it wasn't the case last year.
Yeah, it's so jarring.
The worst.
The lefts. Like now, maybe some of it, maybe it is Algier. Maybe like Algier just can't get it done this year, but like. From what the left side of the offensive line is Swiss cheese. Like they've got nothing. They've got nothing there, man. Ritter's facing like 80. He has like the 5th highest pressure rate, or something like it's something stupid. He's got a ridiculously high pressure rate. And he takes
a gazillion sacks. I'm afraid.
Yeah, he's been sacked a lot
in his career.
I know he's top 5 in sacks taken this year. So it's just not good. It's just not good if that's gonna be how you're gonna live and die. But if they can figure out the rushing stuff, and if they can figure out a way to get more last game stuff out of Ritter, because if Ritter plays like that all the time, the skill position guys aren't gonna be as detrimental to you as they were in that game. They're usually pretty on. If you can get some good performances out of Ritter like that consistently, this is a very formidable team with this defense.
Yeah, I still think they have a lot of potential. I think that they're 3-2, and I don't think that they have scratched the surface of what they can be. And that's not a bad spot to be in. Obviously, you'd rather be 5-0 and everything looking great, but they have found ways to win games despite the fact that their offense has been a far cry from what Falcons fans wanted. So they're in a spot. There's a lot of room. They're in a spot to contend. The season is far from over, and they've got a lot of room to grow. It's not like they're peaking at the wrong time.
Here's my take. If Ritter, by the end of the year, we're like a successful season for him would be if he wins the starting job. If we're to a point where like he's not the guy, they should trade for Kirk Cousins.
They don't have too much longer left to do that. Trade deadline, what? End of October?
I guess. I don't know.
Maybe.
It'd be interesting. I don't know what you'd have to give up for him. If they wanted a first, I don't know if I'd be willing to give up a first. But
yeah, I wouldn't give up a first for Kirk Cousins.
Some people would.
Nobody. He's on like a 10-game deal at this point.
Yeah, his deal is up after this. You can't give up a first and then. I mean, unless you want to pay him again.
I would be
unrestricted free agent this offseason.
Here's what I would guess.
Oh, okay.
I would suspect that the price would be a third, because if you let Kirk Cousins walk in free agency, you'll get a comp pick back that's a third.
Have we ever seen a quarterback get traded, like a starting quarterback get traded in the middle of the season? I just think about learning a whole new playbook and getting up to speed.
It would be it'd
be a very unique situation. I'd be willing to do it if I was a Jets, though.
Oh, the Jets would be. Yeah. That would be interesting.
Why not?
I'd be willing to do it if I was Minnesota as well. Like the season is pretty much over. Like if I don't think a Kirk Cousins deal is completely off the table. In terms of like the realm of possibility, I think it makes total sense for the Vikings with Justin Jefferson out. You know, you're about to lose him for the comp pick, but essentially nothing, like nothing super substantial unless you want to re-sign him. But like the era kind of seems like another contract for Kirk. You're probably going to be in a position to
you're in a position to get a quarterback now, especially if you trade Kirk Cousins. And that's the value of trading him. Is that it makes your pick better. That's the real value. So take the 4 or the 5. And then if you do trade him for a 4, maybe you could have gotten the 3 comp pick for him, but you'll still have the option to go sign guys without having to worry about, scratching off that pick. So, I would definitely move him. I would move him for like even a 7th, just for the sake of like moving the team in the right direction. And being bad and having a higher pick, that's way more valuable. I woke up at 5:30 this morning to go work out. I like to drive through the night to the YMCA. It makes me feel like I'm really doing something, like I'm on a mission. But when I got there, I realized I was so sleepy. I was so tired that I wasn't going to be able to think of what my workout needed to be. And then trying to put all that together is going to be too much of a challenge. Luckily, I had Fitbod, an app that will design my workout and let me know just by clicking through my phone what I need to do for that day. It makes it so much easier for me to get through the lift that I want to get through and not have to worry about writing things down or adjusting certain things. I can just set my goals and I can go. It makes me feel better. It's a great start to the day. I can't not do it now that I've gotten used to it. And if you want to do the same thing, you can get 25% off your subscription at fitbod.me/stayhot. That's fitbod.me/stayhot.
It really is the worst part of going to the gym is like figuring out how to use the equipment, man, or like figuring out what to do. If you just start out, like if you're a twig like me, I go in there, it's like, what do I?
Theo's being modest.
How do I even
he's shredded.
I am now, thanks to Fitbod. Yeah. The Atlanta would be a team to maybe watch out for, but man, like even when Lamar Jackson looked like he could be available, the Falcons were the first team to like publicly, like on their Twitter account, I believe.
That's because Twitter is that good, man. It's crazy stuff.
That's true. So like if they weren't interested in Lamar, then
they were so like, we will not trade for a quarterback no matter what. Are they switching up at this point? Like, I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Especially if a trade for Kirk is unlikely and he might hit free agency. I wonder if they're willing to play a game of chicken and say, like, we're not doing it. So, I don't think it's impossible, though. It wouldn't blow my mind if Kirk got traded, and it wouldn't shock me if the Falcons were the destination, but
I'm going to have hope that Ritter's going to be good. I think that I'm just going to trust.
He is good. We saw last Sunday.
Continue to be good.
I saw for a lot of Saturdays that guy can play.
Yeah.
He's still undefeated at home.
So
that's an awesome stat.
We'll see about the Falcons. I think the Bucs are probably my favorite to win the division right now, just because they look the best in all aspects. But I do think the Falcons have the ceiling to really make some noise towards the end. And then we've got the Saints. That's Matt's team. Do you think they could they could enter this conversation as well and win the division?
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're kind of built like the classical, we're in a bad division. We have a bad schedule. Our defense is very good, and our offense is very bad.
It's very
How does
bad.
9 wins? Like that's the position that they're in.
Yeah.
And defensively, they really have rebounded excellently once again. I think they're like 3rd in EPA per player, something like that, or like 5th in DVOA. They're way up there at the moment, albeit through 5 games. You played the Patriots, you just shut them out. Maybe a little skewed, but regardless, seems like the defense is back, which is crazy to me because, you know, they went into the offseason with, it felt like, very little assets to replace losing a lot of guys, and it just
they just know how to coach them, man. They just
they do, and the big thing for them, it's like we knew the linebackers were going to be fine. Like we knew Davis and Warner were going to be fine. Knew the safeties were going to be good, and Matthew had a pick 6, and that was great. We knew the corners, you know, we know who Lattimore is. I thought the pass rush and the defensive line was going to be a disaster, and it's not. Cam Jordan has been playing very well, and Granderson.
Granderson has really broken out, and that has been huge.
Beast.
And I think Brazee has been decent for them as well.
He's been okay. What their interior defensive line is still not great, but what it can do, they've got these guys who can move very well. They put and then they'll send them on, you know, these like, you know, cross sort of blitzes or whatever. They'll mess up the
run
pass
some games.
Pass. Yeah. And it gets them home a lot, you know, especially against weaker offensive lines. And you start to get into the season and the continuity isn't there for them, and that the passing off is bad. You get that type of really quick get off and really quick speed from defensive tackles, from a guard who like really shouldn't be there, or doesn't have the continuity. It was working great for them, and they killed the Patriots. Now, granted, dude, the Patriots just awful, man. That's just a terrible offense.
I don't know what the hell happened to them. Like that, Mac Jones looked okay.
Their offensive line is just not that good right now. It's like the Falcons. It's like their offensive line isn't that good right now. And then if that's not the case, then who's good on the whole offense? Like who's really creating plays? Like nobody, man. Nobody's creating offense.
Derek Carr is not good. I will say that.
No.
If you want to talk about the Saints offense, Derek Carr is you know, you've said it with his footwork. Like, how is he this long in the league and his footwork still stinks? It's like, dude, how is he this long in the league and he still deals with pressure so poorly? Dude, it's like how old Daniel Jones and him is like the pressure to sack rate, guys. It's ridiculous stuff, dude. And it's, you know, he's willing to be a little aggressive, and he's willing to throw and he's got the arm.
He's willing to be aggressive down the sideline. That's where he's not willing to be aggressive over the middle. It's in fact shockingly so.
And with like Olave and Thomas, they have a bad offense that can generate big plays. So you're like, okay, if the defense is good, we can go, you know, bang a little bit and figure it out. But Derek Carr is just not that good, and their offense has been getting a lot of flack for not being super creative. It's like, you know, it's like they still have Drew Brees, and they do not have Drew Brees whatsoever.
Yeah, here's some stats. So percentage of plays in certain passing locations. So let's take a look at left short. 18.3% of their plays go short to the left. 24.2% of their passing plays go short to the right. Middle intermediate, that's where like a lot of these big plays in the league happen. Like get the ball in people's hands on their move, like over the middle of the field. Like that's really where you want to be. Only less than 2% of their throws go here.
Oh
3 passes all year. How about that as a better way to contextualize it? And they've all gone horribly. they're like none of those plays, none of those threes were good.
Yeah, they've got like the other thing is like with all that short stuff, it's like all to Kamara. It's all to him, and it's like, dude. He does not have a juice like that anymore, man. I think I'm looking at it now. He has 17 targets for 50 yards.
Oh.
And he's also got 33 attempts. It's like, jeez, dude. And I don't even want to talk about what his contract must look like. I mean, sure, they're paying him till 2050.
Yeah, they'll be paying him long after we're all gone, probably.
So it's just it's just the Kamara stuff really kills him. The offensive line is very shaky. Pinning has not been super impressive. And the thing that's interesting about it, and I saw some Saints fans saying this, and I watched and I agree, is that, you know, his like run blocking stinks.
Yeah,
it's he's not getting to his blocks, and that's a killer, because coming into the league, you're like, okay, well, maybe the pass protection will be a little bit of a project. You know, he's coming from like a lower division, but like he's a bully in the run game. And it's like, dude, no, he's not. No, he's not at all. And I was reading an article today about how they won't even like the gap between how often they run outside zone towards him and away from him is ridiculous. It's like 30 or so runs so far this year.
Runs towards the left tackle. The Saints are half as much as the NFL average. Usually 13% of runs go over that gap. The Saints are at 7%, and their success rate is probably a third of league average. So they're never running it over there, and when they do, they get killed. So that's, and also Penning has been
a reason why they
a
never
horrific pass blocker. Penning sucked, dude. I couldn't get over it when I watched the Senior Bowl footage after everybody was hyping up because he was being so nasty. He's got a mean streak. And then you turn on the tape, he was getting abused the entire Senior Bowl. And then you turn on the tape of him at Northern Iowa, he was getting beat there too. Just a first round pick that I never really understood.
It's funny because like he's got a mean streak. That just sounds like you're sitting in the war room during Moneyball.
Yeah,
listening to the old guys. It's like he's got a mean streak. He's not afraid to get dirty.
Yeah, no, it's totally old dude Moneyball type thing to say.
I'll say this: Penning, I think the pass blocking has gotten a little bit better as the year has gone on. He's hardly
can't get worse after what happened week 1 versus Arden Key. Although I will say PFF had Trevor Penning at with like a 99.9 grade.
When? Week 1?
Like in college. So it wasn't all. It wasn't all.
Yeah, because I mean,
99. What?
Literally, they had him like as the highest graded run blocker in the history of the sport.
This can't be right, man.
So it wasn't all like some of the nerds were.
I mean, I'm sorry. What division is Northern Iowa?
Let's see.
Are they FCS?
I don't know what they are, but
yeah, I think
PFF gave him a 99.9 run blocking grade.
Yeah.
And then they said Penning is the single nastiest offensive lineman in the draft class.
Bro. He's so nasty, bro. Please, his mean streak. Bro, you have to believe me.
Bro, he's fighting his teammates, bro. You got to draft him round 1. But he couldn't pass. Like, his technique was bad coming out of UNI. There have been plenty of guys I have been low on, and they get drafted in the first round, and then I was, like, bad. Like, my track record as a scout, like, do not look at it. But Penning was obvious, I thought.
That's crazy. His run blocking grade in 2021 is a 99.9.
It was literally perfect. He never did anything wrong.
Do they track all FCS?
Yeah. I
really?
Guess.
All FCS games
so
and players
here's
they
where
track.
I'm confused, right? Here's where I'm confused. He has a 99 for the season. Week 1, he has a 60.8. Week 3 has a 79.1. Week 9 has a 75.5. in what world is this a perfect? In what
Dude, they
world
just
is this
made
a
it up.
perfect season?
They saw them push somebody into the ground at the Senior Bowl, and they're like,
I
fudge
made
the
it
numbers.
the fuck up. Like what?
He had a 99.9 grade for the season. I don't know how PFF gets every snap of every game graded overnight while also grading every college team and every FBS team.
They grade
FCS
every
team.
FCS player. You're telling me they grade?
There's an army of ball knowers that they apparently have over there that just exists. I can't question it.
I would be very curious as to
Brad Spielberger and Seth Galina are unfollowing us after this episode.
I had no idea they were that in depth, that they went to FCS. Certainly they don't do D2.
I don't know,
There's
man.
no way.
They might do high school, dude. They grade fucking everything.
Fair enough.
PFF.
High school PFF grades.
High school.
Give me PFF
I literally do
on.
think they look at high school.
No,
Give me
Maybe
PFF.
not. I think I'm actually think I'm lying about their name, about the high school stuff. I'm lying on their name.
I'll say this though. I really wish that scouting worked like, this guy's got a mean streak. He is a first round pick, and then he is awesome because of his sick mean streak. Like some like Draft Day the movie type stuff. I wish that's how it was in real life.
Draft Day is real.
His
What do you
birthday
mean?
Party, man.
No one went to his birthday party. He's a 4th rounder, man. That'd
Bro,
be
his
awesome.
dad played for the Browns, bro.
His dad plays for us. and he's like a first overall pick, and he's great because of that. Like, it would be so much like sweeter if that's how it worked.
Yeah, like,
Oh my god.
just whoever has the most lore with the franchise, we gotta pick him. We gotta pick him.
Got to. You don't have a choice.
That's how Matt. If you were the GM of either of the Bengals, especially, that's how it would work. He'd be like, he's a Cincinnati legend, and you just draft him from Cincinnati. They'd be like, oh, his dad played for the team. His dad played for Ohio, and it would work every time. But it would only work if you were the GM of the Bengals.
I would
Why
draft
not the
like
Browns?
Marv or something, and then I'd swing back for Corleone, and honestly wouldn't matter all that much what we did for the rest of the draft. That'd be pretty solid.
Yeah. That's basically, it's how it could work. You are proof that it could work like that. Because I think you have a better scouting track record than me by far,
Just
based
by
off
picking
Ohio players alone.
You just say, like, I think this Ohio State receiver, and it's like all of the top guys in the country who have already been filtered out, because if you aren't one of the top, you have to transfer away, and they have the best coach.
Yeah,
It's like, I think that guy might be good.
look at Jameson. He couldn't hang at Ohio. He's a bust. It's simple as it gets.
It's crazy that he was the 12th overall pick and he could not get snaps at Ohio State.
Exactly. Egbuka.
Anyway,
welcome aboard.
Egbuka. What were we talking about? The Saints?
We were talking about Penning. We were talking about the
Trevor
Saints.
Penning.
Oh,
and
Penning.
then we went on a whole aside.
Okay. So even this New England game, and this isn't exactly the deepest analysis, was the best way to put it. It's like, dude, they put up 34 points, but not in any impressive way. It was like a pick six, multiple field goals off of negative yard drives, and then another drive that they got like right inside the 30. They were running for like 3.3 yards a play and passing for like 6 yards an attempt or something. And it didn't move me. And when they're not hitting like deep shots to Olave or something like that, it just feels like the offense is really stagnant.
Yeah, they haven't been good in the red zone. Carr hasn't been good at the red zone for years. And
they were this game. That was a big thing they were talking about. Whether or not that holds up, we'll see. But yeah, they haven't.
And settling for field goals has been a common theme for them. Carr is the third least aggressive quarterback in the league, according to Next Gen Stats. And I think that, once you get into the red zone, you can't really throw it outside and deep. And that's kind of where his aggressiveness comes in. Like, he's not afraid to throw the go. Like, that can happen. But dealing with coverage rotations in the middle of the field, I mean, you saw it versus the Bucs game, which is when I watched for my section here. It's like, he just didn't want anything to do with it. Like, they'd rotate something. It's like, he's not even looking at that. He's just looking outside because, like, he doesn't know what's going to happen in the middle of the field. So you get to the red zone. It's like, well, you kind of got to force it into some tight windows over the middle. He hasn't done it for years now. And, like, just pick up the Saints kicker in fantasy is all I could say. You know, like, they it's pretty reliable. Like, they're going to settle for field goals, and they can't run the football. They can't get under center and assert their will. They, like, have to get in gun and throw it and get an 11 personnel and throw with Shaheed and Michael Thomas and Olave. That's their best guys, but it's like their quarterback is a coward. You know, he's not fun to watch. He's like just competent enough to make it work. It's
calling him a coward is so funny to me. It's like calling a coach like a war criminal or something.
Yeah, he is. And I like their defense a lot. Like, I like the work that they do. I like that they play man. Alontae Taylor is good. Marshawn Lattimore's having a great season. Like, the defense can keep them in games, but I don't think that they're clearly not as good as the Bucs right now because the Bucs blew them out. And I think, like, if the Falcons can find some other gear, the Falcons will pass them too. So I'm not feeling too good about my preseason assertion that the Saints are winning this division is all I'll say, even though they're coming off a big win versus New England.
Wow.
Yeah, New England hasn't looked. I thought New England was going to turn it around, but man, they just can't get anything done on offense. Man,
they look so much better the first 3 games of the season because at least the first 3 games, like, Mac Jones was looking like, okay, there's nothing down the field, but, like, he can dink and dunk a little bit. And the defense is playing really well.
Right,
like,
the defense is playing well. I just that was my, like, people are like, why do you say they're 9th? I'm like, they were balling out against some really high.
They shouldn't have been 9th at any point.
9th was too high. 9th was too high. But, like, still, I thought for sure. I was like, you know what? They got blown out, but that's a fluke. Like, they're not going to be like that every week. And then they got blown out. I'm just like, fuck, man. They look so bad.
Yeah, I thought they would look better this, like, I definitely thought that they would look better than they look now. We'll see. It's looking very over. They have the worst offense in the league.
There were a lot of people that were like, I can't believe they got rid of Jacoby Myers. You're so right about that. Like, anyone that you're like, they should have chosen Jacoby Myers over Juju. Yeah.
I don't know how much Jacoby is helping them though. Like, but that was a weird, like, lateral move, but I don't know if Jacoby Myers can save them. They've just made,
I mean, not save them, but, like,
yeah, they're definitely missing him. I shouldn't say that that's any kind of bad take. I'm sure Patriots fans would say the same thing. As far as New England goes, like, I feel like they've done such a good job drafting defensive players and building a defense.
Yeah.
Like, Belichick as a GM, the offense is so bad that he doesn't get any credit. I do believe that he deserves a lot of credit for building a very unique defense with players that I don't think anyone else would have built. Like, if you put a normal GM in charge, like, I just don't think he's getting, like, the Keon Whites and the Dietrich Wises and the Judons and the Uches and the Bentleys, like the Duggar in the second round.
A normal GM, it doesn't also have Bill Belichick as their coach to get all that he's gotten out of those guys.
Right. But I feel like Belichick kind of needs to hand pick these dudes because they're just kind of out of nowhere, and they play kind of a unique, role on the team. And I think that you do need him in charge to find these things. And the defense has been very good, and so he does deserve credit for that side of the ball. But as far as the offense goes, like the outside the box, think like the Thorntons and the. It's just been gross on that side. So it's like they need an offensive GM and a defensive GM. Like, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say Belichick needs to relinquish, like, his players, his, like, GM status, his, like, roster building status.
I mean, it's not looking good for him. Your offense has been awful since Brady
But there's no like, again, there's no firing Bill Belichick. He's, like, on tenure, right? It's like you would have to have a conversation with him, and he would have to willingly give up that role.
You could fire him.
I mean, you
could,
but like
you could go if you're Kraft. You could say, "What are you gonna do?"
Patriots fans seem to want it.
Yeah, no one would be mad in New England. It seems
Patriots fans want it because the offense sucks, and if Belichick gets fired, it's like the ultimate cherry on top.
They could mutually.
Oh, he was nothing without Brady, and if Brady would have won without him, he wouldn't have. God. That's one of the most bogus, narratives I've seen around. I hate that. It's like, this coach isn't winning without a great quarterback.
Duh.
Right?
Yeah. No. The Brady Belichick
without Bill Belichick.
Like it was a mutual relationship. I mean, I don't know how anyone like looks at the Super Bowl where like the Super Bowl in 2018, Belichick literally changed his entire defense on 2 weeks' notice and stopped the 2018 Rams, held them to 3 points. 3 points. Like he changed the defense like on a dime and employed like the perfect game plan to stop them, and like kicked their ass, and like they didn't recover from that until they got Stafford. Like he literally ended Goff's career in LA. Literally, he did.
He did. That's insane, though.
And he did it to the greatest show on turf like 20 years earlier. Yeah,
he did.
Like,
this man just hates the Rams. He hates the Rams.
He did cook the Rams. And
can we look up who Bill Belichick was a fan of growing up? Was it like the Niners or something?
I assume
it's like it had to have been like the Niners or something, because this man
he does hate the Rams. But yeah, Belichick is a legend. I will not take any Belichick slander in terms of like, oh, it was all Brady. Like, yeah, a lot of it was Brady. Like, no doubt about it. They couldn't have
just had anyone in that offense and like won Super Bowls.
But he's still like the GOAT head coach to me, because he made the decision to start Brady, and he gave Brady more top 10 defenses than any other elite Hall of Fame quarterback has ever.
Like such an insanely wide margin, man. It's really crazy stuff.
However, that doesn't mean that the offense is good now.
However, that doesn't mean that Brady wasn't great in his own right.
5 defense.
Right.
That's the thing, is that you'll see guys do the exact opposite, where they're like, "Well, Brady wasn't good. His defenses were just good." It's like, no, dude.
I saw someone on Twitter fight like the Brady battle. It's like, how do you still have the strength to do this, dude? They're like, Brady. It's like, I don't even like necessarily fully disagree with like some overrated Brady sure, whatever, but it's like, how are you logging onto Twitter and fighting this, man? It's like, this isn't 2017 anymore.
Yeah, it's like you gotta be pushing the Mahomes front is what you need to be doing if that's your battle. If you really don't want Brady to be the GOAT, or go with Jerry. It's you could argue for Jerry being the GOAT, but if you're arguing other quarterbacks above Brady, it's like, again, you might not be like, there might be some truth somewhere in there.
I've seen people argue that Jerry Rice isn't the GOAT wide receiver. That is the
people are crazy about contested catch artists, dude. This is why Kelsey probably never beats Gronk.
They're like, but Moss
in
was
public
like,
opinion, because when Gronk gets a big run touchdown, he breaks a couple tackles doing it. And when Kelsey does it, we saw it Thursday Night Football against the Chargers. That wasn't as cool. It just didn't look as good.
I thought it was cool.
It didn't look.
Make Little Caesars the official pizza sponsor of the NFL part of your game day. Order online during our Pizza pregame 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day Sunday. And get ready for some football and some fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, you win. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery or our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game.
Here's the thing. Why is the GOAT tight end debate between Kelsey and Gronk?
And I have no idea. Kelsey's so much better.
Why has Kelsey passed Gonzalez,
Yeah, that's a
You mean
Like Gonzalez has 5,000 more yards than Kelce,
Luck.
like 40 more touchdowns.
Luck.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He has 6 more Pro Bowl nods, 3 more All-Pro nods. Like what? Like when did Kelce pass Gonzalez? Like when did either of them pass Gonzalez, for that matter?
Kelce better. Like it truly doesn't matter what the accolades or the numbers or the.
He went to Cincinnati.
It doesn't.
I'm gonna.
Gonzalez has more yards, touchdowns. He's in the Hall of Fame. He has more accolades. He has more everything.
Matt, who's the greatest offensive lineman of all time?
Probably Kelce as well, man.
So it's like if Kelce, like if we think Kelce just has the longevity over Gronk, and maybe he wasn't as like peak dominant at their very top, but it's like, okay, if we're going with that, like why isn't Tony Gonzalez the GOAT?
He probably is.
Okay, well, Tony Gonzalez is out here catching like 800 yards, getting first team All Pros. I'm sorry, he was playing against plumbers.
Oh. Look,
you have to account for era, man. You have to account for era.
I was what, like 12 years old when he retired. So it's like I don't fucking know anything about Tony Gonzalez, and I'm not gonna pretend to. I'm just asking questions. Like why is Gronk?
No. Here's what I'll say. Here's the proof.
Let us know.
You ask any Kansas City fan that I've seen on Twitter, and there's probably a lot of them that disagree. But from what I've seen on Twitter, they all say Kelce when they could say Gonzalez. They are the only ones who are completely not buying. They all push.
Well,
Kelce,
how many Chiefs fans
seen.
do you follow? There's Pranav, who is younger than us. Like, what does he know about Gonzalez?
You're saying he doesn't know ball and he's stupid. Why are you saying that?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, why does Twitter get to decide?
I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm gonna tweet out.
No, you're twisting my words
right now. Chiefs fans.
Like Chiefs what other? Like, let's be real. Like, we know that
all right,
the
Chiefs
landscape.
fans,
it's
sound
like,
off in the comments.
How many Chiefs
who
fans
was better?
Do we follow?
And if you say Gonzalez, I will delete your comments. So
the average Stay Hot listener is younger than we are. What do they know about Tony Gonzalez?
So then, what the hell are you bringing him up for, man?
I'm just saying. Look, the question we have to be asking is who would survive in the mutant cyborg era, and the answer is
for sure. No.
We need to bring out the crypto, the chamber again, and I don't think this would work because they're both out of their prime. So like we couldn't even freeze the best version of them.
Yeah, is Kelce out of his prime?
I would say Kelce's probably still growing.
I mean, would you say that he's in his prime? I don't know. He's already banged up.
I mean, I'd say he's banged up currently right now. We're on the cusp of it, but he's coming off of like very arguably his best season. Or right up there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, that's one. I mean, he was first team All Pro. I guess
here's what I'm wondering.
We've got trolls in the replies. We've got like 2,000 yards. David Njoku. It's over.
Here, one sec. This is. We're gonna clip this, and it's gonna be bait. So everyone, shut up. I want a clean transition into this. Okay, here we go. What I'm wondering is when Travis Kelce even passed Jason Witten. I mean, Jason Witten, we're looking at 400 more receptions, 3,000 more yards, more touchdowns, more Pro Bowls. Like, we're talking about Kelce GOAT. Like, he's still behind Jason Witten as far as I can tell.
Kelce's just more generous. You said 400 more catches? Yes, because he's greedy.
I mean, to me, it just comes down to the championships. I mean, Witten's a great player. But if you don't prove it on the biggest stage, does it really mean anything? There's a lot of guys who can go out there and have Hall of Fame careers in the regular season. Crunch time.
True, I haven't seen the playoff stats.
No Dallas Cowboy. No Dallas Cowboy since 1990 is the greatest player of all time.
Regular season. Well, you got to look at the head-to-head record. Kelce and Witten, they've split the series. It's 2-2.
2-2? We need Witten to come out of retirement.
We need Witten one more time. One more time. But, one of those was probably on the Raiders, and it probably didn't count for Witten. So I'm still taking Witten. Anyway,
Kelsey's postseason numbers are actually crazy shit.
They are crazy. I know.
2020, they gave him 40 targets in 3 games.
Jesus.
Putting a Puka Nacua number.
So.
Oh my God. Mahomes is such a Kelsey merchant, dude.
Now we're.
Don't clip that and post it, please.
Matt, you control the clips. What are you?
Somebody else could do it. They could screen record it.
No, we can't.
No, he's talking to one of the listeners.
No one else could. It's impossible. Right. One of the listeners.
This thing has gone off the rails. Blaiden, please put an end to my suffering.
Well, I'll put an end to your suffering after you intro the Stay Hot Locks.
Right. We haven't done the Stay Hot Locks yet. I wanted to forget all about the Stay Hot Locks after my performance last week, but we do have to do them. The Stay Hot Locks are presented.
We both lost. Matt's taking a lead.
I lost in embarrassing fashion, though. That was bad. But the Stay Hot Locks are presented by Underdog Fantasy. The way these things work is we each basically draft a parlay. We look at all the teams that are playing in week 6 now. We'll kind of do a snake draft. We'll pick a team that we think is going to win. We can drop out at any time. Blaiden can pick one team and stop, and I can go on and pick 6, which is kind of what's been happening over the past couple weeks here. And we have to get them all right. However many teams we pick, they all have to win, and however many we pick, and if they all win, we get that many points. We added a little bonus last week that if we pick dueling locks, we'll double the points and get 2. So with that being said,
if somebody else says Kansas City is going to beat Denver, but then you say, well,
I picked Denver.
Denver's going to beat Kansas City. That guy who picked Denver would get double points, or would it be both of them? Would it be the winner gets double points regardless?
I think only the challenger. Maybe.
Okay, I agree. Only the challenger.
All right, makes sense. So we'll do that. And Matt, you are in the lead now because you have hit 2 weeks in a row of locks. Okay. So where do you want to draft? First, second, or third?
Third.
Okay, so
third. What's the swing?
I guess we're just going to pick random. We'll say Blaiden, you can go first, and then I'll go second. Matt will go third.
All right. Well, if I'm going first, then I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Broncos.
That is a very, very, very good lock. And I am going to take the Dolphins over the Panthers.
Fair enough.
That was also a good lock. Just picking the worst teams in the NFL.
Are we taking the Philadelphia Eagles over the New York Jets, I believe? Okay.
And then
Jalen Carter versus Zach Wilson. That defensive line versus Zach Wilson. I don't have much faith in the Jets offense. And then I can pick another game. Buffalo Giants.
Daniel Jones is questionable, by the way.
Yeah.
And so is Waller. I think he's out, actually. I think Waller and Daniel Jones are both out.
Okay.
Daniel Jones hurt his neck last week, so I would not. I'm
going to go Buffalo over the Giants. It's a 14-point spread. I didn't realize it was quite that bad, but I'll go with that one.
That's gnarly.
And then I will pass it to you, Theo.
I'm up. Well, my pick against the Bears strategy is dead in the water. They're probably better than the Vikings. In fact, I probably could lock the Bears more easily than I could lock against them. So I'm not doing that. I'm not locking the Bears either. I'm not. I don't.
There's another game that I really considered.
There's one more that I think I'm going to pick, and that is going to be.
Don't do it.
That's going to be. I don't know. I'm gonna lock the 49ers over the Browns. Right, that's what I'm gonna do. I think that the 49ers are rolling to an insane degree right now.
I'm very tempted to challenge you, Theo, just out of spite.
I mean, go ahead.
I won't do it, but only because I don't know how much faith I should have in our quarterback situation.
I don't think you should have much faith at all. That would be my take.
But I don't think the Browns. I think the Browns can cover the spread.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't be that pessimistic. I wouldn't lock them to lose. Man,
I don't think there's a lot of good games left, to be real with you. You could lock another one for the sake of it, but
the only other one I would consider is Ravens Titans, and I'm not locking them. But
I have zero faith in the Ravens after.
Yeah, I don't.
Neither do I
either. I'm going to lock the Rams over the Cardinals.
Ooh,
and then I'll be done.
Why?
What do you? Stafford Cup Nakua. What do you mean?
I mean, they just lost by several points.
Yeah.
Stafford Cup Nakua. I guess it was against the Eagles, but
it's like, yeah, it's against
Cardinals
the Eagles.
Are a little feisty.
They're feisty, but like,
well, what are the Rams?
The Rams are better.
I don't disagree, but
hey,
it's your life. Lost to a hobbled Burrow, and they were in a battle with the Colts, and you're wrong. You're so wrong. You're going to regret this so bad.
I'm going to regret this. You're right.
No, it's a 7-point spread. It's not a bad pick.
No. So I'm done.
I'm done as well. I'm not building a big one this time. So
okay.
That
scared to compete.
I am scared. This is like, if you're a defense, you can start blitzing, and if you get burned, you got to stop doing it and play some more too high or whatever, rush 4.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. They got me out of my look. Okay. So it's not cowardice. It's just common sense. So I'm just taking the 2.
Fair enough. Matt?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. Well, those are the Stay Hot locks. And I think that's pretty much all we have for today. We'll be back to recap week 6 of the NFL season. Crazy to think that we're already on week 6. But until then, thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, we will catch you on the flippity flop.